Good evening, Brendan.
Oliver Pritchard, we're back. It almost seems like an eternity since we had our last Bogotá Nights, doesn't it?
It's like a mini Christmas.
Well, yeah, kind of. We had a little bit of a break. I don't know what your excuse is. Mine was I was washing my hair for the last 2 weeks. Well, what's your excuse? You don't have one.
How are things up in the north, Brendan?
In the far, far north, also it's pretty normal. I was thinking I don't really have a Halloween costume for the night that's in it, considering it's our final episode before Halloween. So I put on this sickening yellow top. It might turn them ill looking at it, but anyway, it's colourful enough. But yeah, things are normal. All is fine. Not much to report from these ends. Last week, of course, just to let people know, God honest truth, I had my eye quiz for the first time in about a year in person last Thursday. So that was nice. And we were meant to actually do an episode about events the week before that, but there were some technical difficulties on the Bateo Opinion, the people who control this show on their side. So we might get back to that maybe next week or in a couple of weeks to talk about various events as Bogotá slowly but surely and the country kind of resumes and returns to normal. We can't really say post-pandemic, but I guess entering into the foothills of, yeah?
We'll come to that news later, won't we?
Well, of course we will, yeah, exactly. Anyway, how's all down your neck of the woods? In Richville?
We keep on keeping on, and there are more pigeons by the day, but apart from that, everything is good. Anyway, let's crack on.
Well, I just quick question, Ollie. You are an animal lover, but am I getting this one correct in saying if there was one animal you would sacrifice above all, it would be pigeons?
No, mosquitoes.
Oh, okay. I don't really count those. We'd say kind of furry
cockroaches,
feathered or furry ones.
Talking about birds, yeah, I'd get rid of pigeons pretty quickly.
Okay.
Not a fan.
If there are any people out there who know how to deal with pigeons invading roof spaces, get it.
Yes, please do. Please do. As long as it doesn't involve poison, I'm very much up for it.
Okay. And would your cats not cat, I should say.
Yeah. That's what I want to do. I want my cat to go and kill those pigeons and have rotting carcasses in an inaccessible part of the roof. That'll be great.
Well, they're not. I remember when our cats used to kill rats and mice around the farm, they would bring them to the back door and be purring over them in the morning.
She might do that. She might not. Who knows? It's not something I want to get involved with. Oi, cats!
Well, there you go.
To you. Right,
well,
anyway, yes.
She obviously knows. Okay, let's crack on with things. Okay, Ollie. Well, anyway, on tonight's Bogotá Nights, guys, Colombia's only live and interactive English language chat show. We, like Colombia in general, are all hung up about Halloween. I think there's a Madonna song in that. Anyway, shocking as this may be to some, Colombia's relationship with Halloween is to die for, with many grown-ups as devilish as the kids when it comes to getting into the spirit of the festival. And we'll be sinking our fangs into that very issue, cool and perhaps not so cool costumes. Do you risk going to an early grave dressing up as Pablo Escobar or Alvaro Uribe, or is practically nothing off limits? Are you currently getting your deadly disguise ready? If so, do let us know about it and we'll see, does it meet our abominable approval? Are our costume parties something you try to avoid like the plague? Any more puns I can get in? Anyway, you can get in touch with us right now by using the live comment facility, and thanks to some Mark Zuckerberg black magic, your messages will appear on screen. If you are watching this recorded, you can still get involved by commenting on where you're viewing or via tweet, the handle being @BogotáPost with the hashtag Bogotá Nights. That scary segment is to come, but first it's our notorious news review. Escobar's cocaine hippos have been in the news headlines, and we'll have more on that shortly. But first, Ollie, all jest aside, a truly frightening character, Dario Antonio Úsaga David, alias Otoniel, was captured by Colombian authorities at the weekend. Just who is he, and what's the significance of his capture?
Little significance in the sort of long run, although it probably will have an impact in the short term. He's a former left-wing guerrilla who ended up becoming a right-wing paramilitary. I'd imagine he'll very much be played up as a left-winger by the current administration because, there's an election coming up. I would say in terms of sort of it'll look good for Duque. It's a nice thing for him to say, I caught one of these big, important men. There was something that didn't get a lot of play in Colombia, but earlier this year, there was a big drug raid in the Netherlands and Belgium, which took down a lot of the importation towards Europe of cocaine trafficking. And after that, I wonder if this is, a connected, part of the disruption of that. That, I think, will have some impact. But look, we all know, Brendan, that as long as people want to take cocaine, then people are going to be able to sell it. The production hasn't been hit in any sensible way. There's just a bit of disruption in the supply chain. So the cocaine that's already being grown, it'll bottleneck, absolutely. But it will eventually start moving out again, whether it's to the United States or whether it's to Europe or whether it's to other parts of the world. Not much is going to change.
Okay. Duque at the weekend, though, he did say that this was on a par with the shooting dead of Pablo Escobar back in 1993.
Which famously did not stop the drug trade.
But of course, we now have the legacy of Escobar, which we're going to get to in another issue in terms of his hippos and all that kind of stuff. But this just doesn't seem to register much of a beat. I was kind of making a very ill-timed joke about it in the barrio, and people were, what are you on about? We don't even know who he is, almost. Whereas obviously Escobar had notoriety when he was killed, and he was a senator and all that kind of stuff. So the kind of glamour of these drug capos obviously is not like it was back in the day. It's more underground. But I guess in terms of what he controls, it is similar to Escobar.
Yeah, but that's not going anywhere. As I said, people will flow into that space. Now, it's going to be a big thing if you're in the drug laundering business. Absolutely, there's going to be opportunities available for you. There's big jobs up at the top for whoever's most violent and ends up coming out on top. Absolutely, there could be less paramilitary action for a short while, but again, somebody will fill that void because fundamentally somebody will pick up a gun and become the top dog. So, things will get more chaotic in the very short term, but that's a long way from Bogotá, so no one cares about that. And that's basically, that's where it'll go. Remember, Escobar was the nail who stood up, and the nail that stands up gets hammered down. And it's that simple. He was big and he was high profile and he did open things. But he wasn't effective. He didn't grow very much cocaine. Colombian cocaine production and sales rocketed after Escobar was put into jail. So was killed. This isn't going to change a great deal. He will have had lieutenants and subordinates, and they'll all start jostling for position and yada yada yada. Look, within a year, this is everything will be back on its feet, and in the short term, it'll still be moving, just slightly more inefficiently.
Of course, there are another few elements to this as well, Ollie, and the Colombians can be as cynical as the Irish, and that's a feat in itself. On many occasions, and the Brits. But I've read some people saying in a week when the International Criminal Court are sending a high-level inspector or judge or whatever to travel in Venezuela and coming to Colombia. So in the week that this is happening, the Colombian government, lo and behold, managed to capture this high-level narco, this capo, the head of the Clan del Golf. Very convenient in many ways. So Duque can say to the International Criminal Court, well, look what we're doing here. You know, that the problems that we have to deal with and the lengths we had to go to find this man, and it will obviously appease people north of the Rio Grande as well, and in the White House and in Washington. So it kind of ticks all those boxes. Mm-hmm.
That always plays nice, and he'll be able to say, look, and we have to break a few eggs to make this omelette and all that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that will play into it,
yeah. So speaking, though, of legacies, and we mentioned Escobar, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on this, because, like, is it... You said it's kind of going to peter out. I had friends in Ireland sending me messages, and yet here on the ground, nobody seemed that interested in it. So, yeah, like...
Look, I don't think most Colombians care too much about what happens, far away from the major urban centres, fundamentally. And don't forget, of course, a large amount of money in the country does, I know we're all meant to say, oh, Colombia is more than just cocaine, which it is. That is true. But, it's mendacity to imply that cocaine isn't still a major driver in the economy.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm guessing there are some people who might be seen as clean as a whistle, if anyone can be these days, that are quite happy with the capture of Otoniel and the vacuum it might leave behind. But anyway, sacrificial lamb, perhaps, I guess, might be one way to put it. And who knows what kind of back deals have been made, as we said. It might be a convenient capture as well for the timing in it. But speaking then, we mentioned Escobar and the legacy. And this is a story that some people go, oh my God, are they talking about Escobar's hippos still? But since the last time we were on the show, we had our show 2 weeks ago, his hippos have been in the news. And we spoke, and people can search this on YouTube. It's called Colombia's hippo inflation. You can do a search. We talked about this back in January when it was in the news then. Like there is a serious element to this. It's not just, oh, look at these cool hippos and save them and all this. Like we talked about the environmental damage and all that kind of stuff that can happen, and the ecosystem that they're not really meant to be a part of. But sterilization has happened, and what else? Or what is the latest news in this long-running saga?
Let's all take our hats off to the the veterinary workers who are charged with sterilizing 4-ton hippos. I mean, seriously, they're doing incredible work. It's very easy to say, oh, we should sterilize those hippos. It'll be a jolly good job. But, we're talking about an absolutely enormous animal with, 1.5 meter long tusks, 3-inch thick skin. It's not easy to go and capture one of those and sterilize it. So top work, frankly, from the incredibly brave people and hard-working people that are doing that. As you say, they do cause a lot of trouble one way or another, and of course the longer you leave this problem, the more hippos you're going to have. And then the more problematic it's going to be. They're obviously they don't have anything approaching a predator. A jaguar isn't even going to literally can't make a dent in a hippo. So, yeah, I mean, this problem needs to get sorted out. Amusingly, they've been given personhood in southern Ohio. So if the hippos can swim and walk their way up over to southern Ohio, it's only a few thousand kilometers. If they can get up there, they can quite happily go into the courts and start claiming that they have personhood protection. And they can apply for their rights. Of course, a lot of people are saying this is grandstanding by a small section of a US state, and they're right. I mean, look, this probably isn't really about Colombia. It's about we can sneak this through the courts and then use it later as precedents to try and get other animals given legal personhood status under US law. Of course, Colombian law is a different thing altogether.
Yeah, isn't there another issue there as well? That they're looking for the same kind of personhood for elephants there. That was a story in The Guardian that you sent me. So, well,
Yeah,
to me, amusing it seems to be anyway.
That's a Thai elephant, I think, who's allegedly being exploited.
But if they're sterilizing the hippos now, like that, obviously under sedation, so would that mean they could not, like, then, I don't know, round them up, enclose them somewhere? I know they're very heavy animals, and we're talking about in jungle and in difficult terrain and stuff. Because the idea also is that they're looking for donors to come in and take care of these, send them to zoos or sanctuaries.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
There is one in the Medellin Zoo, actually. But
Vanessa, actually, isn't it?
Is that her name? Fantastic. Fantastic knowledge. But yeah, you have to. I mean, it's great, but you've got to find a zoo to put them in, frankly. And as you say, there's a lot of logistics involved. But yeah, actually, I mean, that's definitely the number one priority, because it's all very nice and well sterilizing a hippo, but then you've got another 30 years of a 4-ton animal walking around munching its way through enormous quantities of vegetation.
Where would the ethics be on this, considering they now have personhood? But could there be rogue?
Only if you send them to Ohio.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, could there be rogue vets, in this whatever injection they're giving them? Maybe there's something else in it.
But as you say, Brent, there are ethical issues. If a zoo in a country where animal care standards are not particularly high, if they come in saying, "Yeah, we'll take a hippo off your hands," do you do it? Do you go for it? There's a lot of interesting questions here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the story rumbles on, but at least they've started the sterilization process. I think they estimate about 80. That's probably on the lower side
hippos,
of the right now. Yeah, that are out there.
And I think they've sterilized 20 something. So they're making it internet.
Yeah, they are indeed. Right. Any news on this? Again, another recurring story that we've had over the last few weeks. Colombia, is it going to be on the UK, or will it be off the UK red list? Is the red list going to exist anymore? Are there going to be any countries on it? All this kind of stuff. We thought we might get some news. Have we got some news today, Ollie, on the UK?
We have COVID got red some list? News. Wonderful. We have got some news. So the red list does still exist, but Colombia's not on it. Nowhere's on it. It's now a red list of 0 countries. So let's all be aware that it might come back. But, this is connected to the fact that 126 people died yesterday in the United Kingdom through COVID. And in Colombia yesterday, 26 people died. So it's notable that Britain is currently outperforming Colombia by a factor of 5. So let's be, let's all sort of realize that common sense seems to have prevailed. It's great news for myself and people like me. It's great news for Colombians who didn't have, let's say, residency visas. So any Colombians who would have been entering England with a partner, for example, or with a child, or so on and so forth, for tourism reasons, they can now enter and get back easily. So it's just good news all round, especially with Christmas around the corner.
Yeah, but I guess I would say caveat emptor with all these things, because it can change in a week or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, let's be aware, the red list still exists, and that means Colombia might go back on it.
Yeah, while I know there are a lot of people who would like to get home to Europe here or whatever, or Colombians who have family or whatever, I think, unless it's really, really necessary, my advice would be just, if you can stay put, stay put for the moment. International travel, I'm not sure if it's... the other way around, it's actually far easier. Like a good Dutch friend of mine who you know well as well, like landed here in Colombia the day before yesterday, and it's rather easy to get into Colombia. But it's just you don't know what the story is when you're in Colombia. Things could change. Colombia seem to be maintaining their kind of standards and have for the last basically since April or something. Whereas in Europe,
anywhere in Europe, yeah.
Well, yeah,
and
Europe,
I think that's where the panic comes from, Brendan. It's the fact that these decisions seem often rather arbitrary. You know, it didn't make logical sense that Colombia was on the red list anyway, in the first place, which is why we have no idea whether Colombia will go back on the red list, because if you've made one arbitrary decision, you're liable to make another. So who knows what's going to happen?
Well, yeah, it's like that old line, like, trust the science. Well, can you show us what science you're actually following and the logic behind it all, and then that's fine. But if you're going to have one bit of science for one particular country and another bit for another, well, then, yeah, it gets all rather confusing. Just to mention, in North America, in the United States, to be specific, they have maintained or put Colombia on level 3, which is reconsider travel to the country. So any Americans now, how many of them are actually going to reconsider if they've got flights booked? It's just advice. I don't know, will it make much of a difference? I mean, as we kind of talked about earlier, if you read the advisories from embassies, well, you wouldn't visit really too many places in Colombia whatsoever. But anyway, there you go. But that is the official line from the US State Department, I guess it is, to reconsider travel to Colombia. But you mentioned them. Was it the day before yesterday we had 0, or was it today or yesterday COVID deaths in Bogotá?
Yeah, we won't know today's figures obviously until tomorrow. But for the first time since we had deaths in Bogotá, we've registered a day without deaths. COVID 0. Only 26 deaths across the entire country. That's across 11 different departments. Very low numbers of cases being reported daily as well. I think it's about 1,000 at the moment, 1,500, something like that. So not many deaths, not many cases, not many 0 deaths. When you say, is it too early to talk about post-pandemia? I mean, look out of the window, Brendan. I mean, people are wearing face masks, definitely, but it's no different from, how it used to be in Japan 10 years ago when everyone walked around with face masks on. So, yeah, I'd say very much we are very much in the next stage of life.
Yeah, of course, there might be other stages coming, though. Unexpected or reporting.
That's the spirit.
Well, in fairness, just to say it, and this applies more so to me than it does to you, that if you want to get to the cinema or things like that, the Ministry for Health are looking at introducing vaccine passes for that kind of stuff. Where obviously those concerts, venues like that, where you have to register or get a ticket, that's going to be easy, in inverted commas, to introduce and implement. Whereas, going into your local bar, it's unlikely. I think they're going to be enforcing that the same way they weren't really enforcing lockdown measures. But they could technically bring it in for internal transport as well, or for transport in general.
Yep.
But,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, it could, because I think take-up here seems to be pretty high from, just anecdotally, but even
relatively high, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's widely available. I mean, I think we can largely say, certainly in a city like Bogotá, if you're above, let's say, 30 and you haven't had the vaccine yet, it's because you don't want it, or you either don't want it for ideological reasons, or you can't be bothered to get it. You don't feel like it's an important thing in your life. But I don't think we can say anymore that it's through lack of access.
Yeah, and if we wanted to debate this point all night, and I'm sure nobody wants to hear Oliver Pritchard and Brendan Corrigan debating the point, but people can go and check out my blog, The Vaccine Vexers, on either El Tiempo or my Wrong Way Corrigan, the blog on blogger.com, Google blog, and you can get my perspective on that. And I willingly debate the point with anybody on it. But let's move on to something slightly lighter than that. Sports news, and fair play to Radamel Falcao. He literally fired the shot that was that ended up seeing Ronald Koeman, the Barcelona legend, the Dutchman, being fired as manager of Barcelona because his Rayo Vallecano defeating the giants of Spanish football 1-0. They're going through a rough time, of course, but Falcao, on the other hand, he seems to be having a great time in that the third team of Madrid.
I have to say that's one of the most pleasing football results that I can imagine. Vallecano being, ethically and morally one of the best clubs in Europe. Barcelona being the exact opposite. Ronald Koeman being a dirty cheat that, cheated his way to knocking England out of qualification for the 1994 World Cup. Not bitter. And of course, Falcao getting back onto the goal scoring thing. I mean, think about it. You've pretty much got to have a heart of stone to not like Radamel Falcao.
I had a former student who actually played with him in leagues here in Bogotá, apparently. He didn't speak too highly of him, but maybe he's a little bit jealous that Falcao went on being the superstar that he is, and my former student
he would have been very, very young in those days. We're all allowed. I've heard people say that Egan Bernal was a bit of a dick back in the day. In sort of cycling clubs in Bogotá. But we're talking about the arrogance of youth. When you're 13 or 14 and you're tearing it up against adults, you might do something that other people feel is a bit arrogant. Doesn't necessarily mean it was.
Yeah, it's fair enough. But it's obviously good news. Okay, we're still 13 months.
Falcao took the deal, didn't he? Rayo Vallecano, we could say, is a step down from clubs he's played for before. But, again, which just makes me love the man more. He said, give me regular football. He's definitely going to get that at Vallecano. And, I want to make a push for the World Cup. And at the moment, he's looking good for that.
Exactly. I mean, better having a guy who's finding the net. And it's not like he's finding the net in a mediocre league, because I could mention another Colombian superstar who managed to find his scoring mojo once, albeit in the last week, but at least he managed to find the back of the net, a certain James Rodriguez. But doing it in Saudi Arabia, isn't it Saudi Arabia? Where is it? Yeah.
Doing it Qatar.
Qatar, sorry. Yeah, Qatar, obviously. But doing it there, doing it next December when you've got the Colombian jersey on is one thing, but doing it for some Mickey Mouse club. But in La Liga, La Liga isn't what it was 6 or 7 seasons ago, fair enough. But still, and where are they? Like they're in the upper half of they're ahead of Barcelona in league table. It's all pretty tight, to be honest. The top 10, there's not much in it. I know it's early days, not even a third of the way through the season.
But Vallecano are the sort of team that you'd be expecting to fight bravely against relegation. So. This is great for them. Whether they can sustain it for the season, who knows? But certainly, Falcao. If you're Reinaldo Rueda right now, you're thinking, yep, I want to take Falcao in the squad. So, all looking good.
Yeah. By the way, does the same magical number work in La Liga as it does in the Premier League? Like, get to 40 points and you're kind of seen as safe. So they're nearly halfway there already with the 40-point target. In terms of
I think you sometimes get a couple of very weak clubs, I think, in La Liga. Yeah, 40 points, that's about right, I think, in most 20-team leagues.
Okay. But this day, 2 weeks, by the way, it will be Colombia-Brazil back into the World Cup qualifiers. Because, we didn't really get a chance to reflect on the other games that they had because we didn't have the show for the last 2 weeks.
And that'll be a lot less chaos now. Without a red list, that's one notable area that will suddenly get a lot less chaotic.
Well, yeah, don't count your chickens, Ollie. It could all change next week. It could all change tomorrow. Anyway,
no. 3 weeks.
What?
3 weeks we have until the next update.
Oh, okay. Yeah, unless something dramatic happens, and it could.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be optimistic. I'll be optimistic. Quick one, though, on sport as well. Don't know if you saw this, but I just came across my ticker tape running here. Luis Diaz has been listed amongst the best 32 footballers for 2021 by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics. I'd never heard of this group before, but they check out. I did a quick search on them, but yeah, so he's like obviously in quite prestigious company with and those 32, the likes of Ronaldo, Messi, perennially make it. But like he has been the man, really, hasn't he, for La Selección?
Oh yeah, I mean, he sooner or later he's got a big move from Porto. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
But Porto are in the Champions League, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. But you'd have to think he'll be moving to a large team in Spain, Italy, or England.
You kind of muffled that England. You don't see England, that happening.
Yeah. Well, I suspect he's probably more likely to go to Spain, isn't he?
Well, I don't know. What's it? Barranca? No, is it Barrancas? That's the name of his town in La Guajira. Barrancas. From Barrancas to Birmingham, maybe. End up at Aston Villa.
To play for Villa, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't be the first Colombian, of course, as we well know.
No.
Yeah. And I do like my alliteration, so he might just do it for us. Do it, Lucho. Head to Aston Villa. Anyway.
Brighton.
Oh, well, there. Well, Aston Villa has a better name.
Yeah, but he'll want to be by the coast, won't he? So, there you go.
Oh, come on, when you're in England, you're not that far away from the coast, no matter where you are in England.
No, you're not.
Really, yeah. It's like Ireland. Anyway. Ollie, that's our news review done. There's nothing in the world of cycling that we need to be aware of, or nothing else happening at all. Silly season once again. Christmas is almost about to begin, but before we get to Christmas, there is the small, and it's not that small matter, of Halloween, guys. And well, Ollie, like Halloween here, you might think to the uninitiated or those who. You okay? What on earth is happening there, Ollie? Are you okay? Sicarios outside the window.
Oh, no, it's just a motorbike. Have you heard about those, Brendan?
No, I don't get them up this side. It's still horse and cart here in Verminal. Anyway, I was going to say, to those who might have never been in Colombia this time of year, they might think, well, why would Colombia get hung up about Halloween or be interested in it? But it's mad here, really. It literally is mad. I hadn't taken a stroll up El Codito in about a month or more. So today I just went up in between heavy downpours, and I was just passing by a little garage, a little mechanics. Nondescript, nothing much to it. And they had like all their Halloween decorations and everything up. I was kind of going, you wouldn't get that in Ireland, technically the home of Halloween, where all these kind of like, okay, you might get stores, supermarkets now doing it because they can sell stuff, but not mechanics decorating it.
No, I've always found it weird. Things like schools, schools maybe not, but we did it at the university, and I always thought, really? I mean, this is just an academic environment, allegedly, and I was surprised, Brendan. Even on Monday, I went to the vets. The cat had a little problem on her temple, and I thought to myself, imagine you were bringing your cat in because it had advanced cancer and it was time to have her put down. Wouldn't you feel like a bit of a dick doing it, surrounded by jolly pumpkins and flying, cackling witches and that? I just thought, it's a bit off, isn't it?
Well, bring it to the level of humans. Aren't the hospitals all decked out? I'm guessing I haven't passed by a hospital.
Well, yeah, okay, then sure, yeah, look, especially if it's an emergency. I mean, look, it's one thing doing it on the kids' ward, but yeah, you wouldn't want to be in an emergency ward, would you? Your loved one is behind a pane of glass, potentially on oxygen tanks fighting for their lives, and, you're sitting around, surrounded by the Grim Reaper with his scythe, I don't know how well that would go down.
Well, it's a little bit closer to the truth of what's happening, perhaps. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's honest, I guess. Yeah.
Well, like when I was in Henisano and Ramiriki, that's how it's pronounced, a month ago or so. And I think this is kind of replicated all over Colombia. It just dawned on me there. Like, you've got the hospital, and then right in front of it, the undertakers. Very efficient that way, and the graveyard is usually not too far away in those small towns as well. So a little triangle of the essentials all next to each other. Yeah, of death, indeed. But like the Halloween thing, and we mentioned this obviously in last year's show. Today we kind of want to focus more on costumes and what might be kind of seen as okay and what might be a bit risque in terms of what to dress up as. But like the background, like this popularity, it mimics, or you could even say in some regards it might even go one better than the ostentatious displays that you get in the United States for Halloween. I mean, you kind of think, well, when it comes to decorations and going all out, nobody does it better or worse, depending on your point of view, than the United States. But like here, they give it a good old going. Like even the taxis will have their big spiders' webs on the front. I've seen a few of those.
All those big spiders, yeah. Spiders on the bonnet. No, it's done fantastically. And if you've ever been to one of the, I had the great fortune to go to the zombie march a few years ago. Absolutely, some spectacularly wonderful costumes. I would say in general, I've always thought, Brendan, that Colombians love dressing up. They often do it properly, and you just get some spectacularly good things. Go out to somewhere like Teatron for their Concurso de Halloween, and again, expect the winner to be in millions of pesos worth of, fabulously done outfit.
Yeah, so it's not the. By the way, guys, like do tell us: are you going to get dressed up this Halloween? Are you going to a party at the weekend? I guess I just in the barrio about an hour before the show started, walking past a few little tiendas and those shops of todo por 10 mil. There were queues outside them now with children. Tomorrow being Friday, it's a bank holiday weekend, public holiday weekend. So I guess the schools are kind of, come on, you've got to come in with your monster outfit on or whatever. So everybody's lining up to get dressed up. So people, are you dressing up, or is it something you kind of go, no, I don't like it? Because you were talking about the quite spectacular costumes that you see, and the efforts, the lengths that people go to. It's like, I remember being younger and you'd maybe get a black plastic bag or something and cut a hole in it and maybe little blobs of blood, or I don't know, and fangs.
Did you grow up in the 1960s?
Yeah. Well, remember that Ireland in the 1980s, we were third world effectively. So it was only in the 1990s when we started kind of deciding, well, we can at least splash a little bit of cash. Anyway, that aside, no, but it's like the makeup that goes into it now, and I know this is happening all over. I remember my sister a few years ago, like, a wonderful job, like in terms of what they put together. But today I was walking past a beauty salon, and they had a few people already with their makeup on, like kind of having different, as if the whole face is split open or something. It's just, it's fascinating. I'm sure it costs a little bit to get somebody to put all that effort into it. Probably talking 50,000 minimum, I'd say, to get that kind of a job done. So you want to be, really into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people do go for it, don't they? And in their droves as well. Everybody seems to get involved. I mean, look, here's Angela chiming in to point out that the ones in Teatron, as I said, it would be millions of pesos, and they go months to plan their costume and assemble the whole thing. Just months of planning. Absolutely. I mean, it astonishes me all the time. But let's talk, Brendan, about...
What I want to ask you, I just want to ask you before, I know what you're going to get onto, but what was the most, so we've both been here about the same length of time, about 10 years. What was the most impressive costume you did?
That I've seen or that I've worn?
No, that you particularly wore.
On Zombie March 1 year, and there was a couple of years actually where my Halloween outfit was kind of a big Jesus robe, with a little purple sash and a crown of thorns, a real crown of thorns as well, taken from a thorn bush, carefully cut and assembled. And with, stigmata and the like.
Not real stigmata, I hope that was imitation.
No, not. No, you got to wait for Christmas for that. No, sorry, Easter.
Easter, yeah, of course. Well, surprise, surprise, guys. Ollie Pritchard is Jesus Christ. Who would have thought that was a match? That was a match
on a bike.
On a bike. Okay, well, you're missing the mule.
Literally, Jesus H. Christ on a bike.
Yeah. A match made in hell, appropriately enough, for Halloween, of course. Because obviously I'm not one really to go too gung-ho into all of this, so...
Oh,
sorry?
You surprised me.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course, yeah, isn't that a mad surprise? But yeah, so I'm kind of thinking efficiency and the easiest thing I can do. So 1 year it was Nicolas Maduro kind of lookalike. I was saying I was Nicolas Maduro's twin brother. That was fine. But yeah, I've never really done. I've done the whole priest thing, but things that are easy. Angela, by the way, do you get involved in it? Have you dressed up? I don't want to kind of. Should I say this, Ollie? But I've seen a lot of the women's outfits here are kind of more in line with Britney Spears and "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time" rather than anything scarier. Put it that way.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I like you, Brendan. Halloween. It's a relatively new thing for me as well. It wasn't a big thing when I was young, particularly. And I do find it a bit weird, kind of how stretched. It's just vaguely anything fantastical rather than being horror based. I'm not a big fan of that. Either.
Yeah. Well. I mean, some people may like it and can be interested.
Well, it's quite
different.
It's quite sweet and it's quite sweet in little children, isn't it? You got like a little child dressed up as a pirate or whatever. You kind of go, "Oh, that's sweet and that's nice." Not such a fan. I kind of think adults should keep it horror related. I think.
Yeah, because then you're going into something else. Are we in a Playboy magazine shoot?
Yeah.
Which Angela refers to, but she said she did not go into the phase of Britney Spears or sexy nurse costumes or Little Miss Riding Hood looking very tarty indeed. No wonder why the wolf was after her.
Right.
Sorry, but anyway, go on.
But Brendan, actually, a lot of the original versions of that tale, the wolf does indeed end up having sex with Red Riding Hood before they were cleaned up for sort of kids' things. Anyway,
bestiality.
Yes. So you were talking about, well, that's the Twilight thing, isn't it? Do you want to be a necrophiliac or commit bestiality? That's the Twilight choice if you're Kristen Stewart. Anyway, so you dressed up as Maduro's twin, which I imagine wouldn't be a great idea in Venezuela, Brendan, in your big banana costume. But Where should we draw the line in Colombia? So, there's a great little video on Instagram that's been going around of a little child dressed up as Pablo Escobar. Is that okay? I've seen people attend parties dressed as Uribe. That's pushing it a little bit as well. Where's the line here?
Well, okay, so people might say you draw the line if they are dead, so that means Pablo Escobar is okay. But then if you kind of go, well, there's still a lot of people, it's Pablo Escobar is a bad word for many people because, as we've talked about on many occasions in this show, the whole glamorizing of his crimes and narcos and shows like that have done that in different books, maybe kind of making him out to be this kind of Robin Hood figure or whatever. I don't know. As I said in the intro, we mentioned, like, should it be a case that nothing is off limits? Because it's the whole idea. It's Halloween. You do these kind of scary things, and while somebody might be upset with it, but like it's not meant to be taken as offense. It's just it's a costume. It's Halloween, and it's scary.
It's glorification, though, isn't it? I think I'd agree with you, though, there, Brendan. I mean, yes, Escobar is dead, but there's still plenty of people alive who are directly affected by his actions. I think that would be a big thing. I mean, I think the difference between Escobar and, say, dressing up as Adolf Hitler, which, I've seen again in Colombian parties. I've seen people, with a sort of swastika armband and whatever. And I've thought to myself, oh, that's a little bit close, obviously. And it is for a European, I think, in a way that it isn't necessarily for many Colombians. But there is a big difference in that, you're cracking 90 to be remembering Hitler now.
It was fine for Prince Harry, wasn't it?
Well, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. And much less acceptable for that little toe rag. But yeah, so there's the question, isn't it? I mean, nobody, I think, would bat an eyelid if you were Simon Bolivar.
Yeah, well, okay, but like this is the thing. It really, I think, it depends on the person because obviously when Donald Trump was elected and president, that was a popular costume. Bill Clinton, by all accounts, well, he was finicky with his hands and things like that, so he's apparently had
It's not quite being Pablo Escobar, though, is it? But
but I was going to say no, but not with Escobar, with Uribe then, because
I see.
Uribe will say, well, I've never been convicted. What are you saying? Yeah. I was president of this country. He can say equally as Bill Clinton was president of the United States, I was president of Colombia.
Does he ever waste much time in not saying that? But yeah, I mean, I think that's been. I think what I would say is these are all costumes I personally would steer well clear of. If I was in a party and there's somebody dressed up as an Uribe, I'd go, oh yeah, okay, I get that. That makes sense. And I think I'd be aware if I had a friend visiting, let's say, or if I was with a person who I know didn't know Colombia very well, I would say, just so you know, the guy with the glasses and the chainsaw and the Crocs, he's not some weird mismatched guy trying to be a chainsaw massacre ripoff. That's a very clear reference to a very clear thing before you accidentally say something that you shouldn't by accident. And certainly with stuff like Escobar, look, if I was at a party and there was a guest there wearing it who was Colombian, I'd go, yeah, not a big fan of this. But equally, I mean, I'd want to know very much where I was to know how I was going to judge that. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. But I was talking about like the kind of generic narco, which I guess, yeah, it is easy to do. You just kind of make yourself look like a narco, as she explains with the show the chest hair and have a gold chain or whatever. Maybe if you can get
a hat
tooth or something, and the hat, yeah. But and obviously you can do the gangster thing of the Al Capone era. But again, when Chapo Guzman was captured, like again, that was a popular costume. I think I did see it here. Somebody dressed up as Chapo, and because that's Mexico, that's fine. So I guess it is very much place dependent. If I was to bring it to Ireland, for example, and you went into the wrong place in Belfast dressed up as Jerry Adams or something, I don't know, would that go down very well?
But it's very much a 50-50 call there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it does just depend on, like, my kind of take on it, though, if we're going to, like, if you're pressing me for an opinion, I kind of go, well, it's the night that's in it. I don't take offense. I mean, it's easy for me to say I'm not a victim of Pablo Escobar's violence or Carlos Castaño's violence. Or, I mean, obviously it's going to be too soon for Otoniel, who was captured. I doubt people are going to be thinking, oh, let's dress up as him. But maybe you will see that. I'm kind of going, let everything go. It's kind of like comedy. Take it as as a bit of fun. But I know
there's still there are always subjects that you sort of skip by on comedy as well, aren't there?
Well, yeah, you might make the genre more not individuals. Yeah, that's fair enough. But again, the generic suicide bomber again. That's
very common. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, I find it interesting that there's often a bit of double standards. You know what I'd like to see though? I always think the kind of suicide bomber, Uribe, Pablo Escobar, etc. I always think there's something about it which is, like, I'm being really edgy. Like, check me out. Like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just going to be like super edgy. And you kind of think, yeah, it's kind of a lazy way to make that point, I think.
But what about dressing as a pig to being a certain president? Is that fine?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that is, actually. And I've always said that cheap shots about Duque's appearance, a little bit beyond the pale. I think Angela, by the way, is completely correct here. There are going to be a lot of Squid Game costumes kicking out. Whether that's a green, do you call it green? That kind of aquamarine teal, whatever color you call that, green, blue. That tracksuit or the red sort of jumpsuit thing with the black hood over the top. I think one or both of those will be massive this year.
Okay. So now I'm going to you've made me think. Angela mentioning the Squid Game and like fictitious things, but then maybe that's the point. And if dressing up, kind of having to go with somebody's appearance, even though in like the cartoons in El Espectador, certainly El Tiempo anyway, they do depict President Duque as a kind of figure. Yeah. But should it be just fictitious? Because if you go back to the kind of Celtic origins of this, the idea was that you dressed up as kind of wild, ghostly, monstrous figures because the evil spirits were wandering on the night of the 31st, so that you would disguise. So you'd walk by an evil spirit and go, there's another evil spirit, how's it going, how are you? Yeah, so you're not a human being. So maybe we shouldn't be dressing up as other humans, who at least are still living.
But in a way, Brendan, aren't human beings the real monsters?
Yes, that is correct. No disagreement here.
Well, in that case then, Brendan, really you should be dressing up as, La Llorona, El Moan, Patasola.
Okay,
Coco.
all these, yeah, which...
the local mythological creatures, yeah. Local being a very flexible term, by the way. I mean, I'm constantly being told by Colombians that, La Llorona is so emblematic of Tolima, the Llanos, the northern coast, etc. And I go, Yeah, sounds like it kind of has a version going all the way from Chile up to kind of Guatemala, but yeah, very local.
What's Patasola, by the way? Because Angela seems to like that. You'll have to excuse my ignorance on that one.
Guess how many feet Patasola has?
One!
One paw, yeah. One paw,
Okay.
1 foot. I mean, it's a bit of an odd one. I never really thought paw kind of stretched that far. It's more like a taloned foot in most of the patasolas I've seen. She's kind of some sort of river spirit, usually. Again, like I say, it kind of varies place to place depending on who you talk to.
But maybe that's probably now it's too late this year and I couldn't really be bothered getting involved in a Halloween party at this late stage. But maybe that's the way, like, I should look into the origins of my name, Brendan, the Celtic background, where I'm from, and maybe get a mythological figure that kind of best represents me and go with that. Right.
Isn't Brendan warrior or fighter, something like that?
Whether it's Brendan the Navigator as well, Saint Brendan the Navigator, but I'm just saying something more obviously.
No. But I mean the name Brendan, like the etymology of Brendan, doesn't it mean? I mean, because obviously Saint Brendan, I'm sure, was not the first. Like he was called Brendan before he became a saint. The name clearly.
Well, I have to check that one out. But but maybe that's the way to go. Kind of dress up more as fantastical characters.
I don't think you'll like Wikipedia's version of that, given that it says Brendan is the anglicised name of Brendan.
Brendan, yeah. Well, I knew that, yeah. But it is an Irish name. But go on. Put me out of my
thought. Oh no, there is no etymological link between Brendan and Brenda. But yeah, no, that's not clear.
Okay.
Oh, so no, so it probably comes from Brienhin in Welsh, meaning a prince.
That's a bit boring. Dressing up as a prince. I could dress up as a frog then. So you kiss the kiss the frog, and I'd turn it into a prince.
But all these, newfangled Celtic names. I've got a Brythonic surname, which kind of goes back further even than Celtic in our islands.
Okay.
Anyway,
Richard, yeah, obviously. Go on, yeah. Well, and Oliver.
Richard. Richard is what it originally have been until it was anglicised. I would love to see more Colombian mythology playing out in local costumes. I always think it's a little bit sad that people are quick to bring in, let's say, a werewolf from kind of Northern Europe, when you could just as easily be a shamanic jaguar.
Yeah, or look at the popular ice cream around now. It's Dracula. I mean, that's a
Palette Dracula.
An Anglo-Irish writer who came up with Dracula, Bram Stoker. Although I take it, yeah. But was Dracula not the whole vampire idea anyway? Of course, predates Stoker. But yeah, I don't even know many of the kind of mythological figures here, so it would be interesting to know that. But anyway, we've only got a minute left. So do you know of any? Are you dressing up any parties this weekend? Because back in the day, there used to be big Stan Miller, people kind of in the expat community, this very tall Australian who used to have like a Halloween haunted house thing. But I believe he's abandoned the flock temporarily. Perhaps he's in Eastern Europe at the moment. But he used to have a massive one that was well attended by all and sundry, from what I gather. I never went to it myself in Chapinero. But are there any big costume parties that you know of?
Yeah, Teatron always has something going on. There's a kind of mini Oktoberfest beer festival going on just down the road from me. There's a vampire night tonight, I think, again, fairly close to where I live. There's quite a few things going on.
Okay. So and is young Mr. Pritchard going to partake in any of these?
Not that young these days. Not that young.
As young as you feel, as the Queen said, your sovereign said there last week. So, how do you feel, Ollie? How young do you feel?
I would quite like to see her die, but that's a separate issue, isn't it?
I think we should leave it at that on this Halloween spooky, frightening episode.
Oh, stop. Am I the only Republican here? Well, that's a surprise.
She's not my sovereign. Anyway, don't get me into trouble here. I was expecting a check from the Queen. She was going to sponsor us. Now we've lost that. Anyway.
Well, it's time, I think, now that we've spoken treasonous words.
Happy Halloween. We might be sent to the Tower of London, so we may not be here next week. Anyway,
ciao.
Bye. Have we done time? I thought,
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.